tell me this, Gerry, in the 82 World Cup, I think you was going to play maybe a wee clip here that you might maybe remember.
Gerry Armstrong, whatever he is. Scotty right ahead, and to his right, one right side on the far side of the area. Still very empty, he's got past video.
Certainly one of the, I remember whenever I was, but this height run out into the yard, roaring and shouting. The man, I think she must have thought that I broke something in the house. Gerry, that was after two draws at the 82 World Cup. Before the Spain match, what was the atmosphere like within the squad?
We had a plan, and the draws were okay. We hoped the draw against Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia qualified as one of the favourites to do really well in our group, and they scored a lot of goals in qualifying, and I think it was something like 25, 26 goals they scored in qualifying. It took us about 5 years to score 25, 26 goals, but it was the way it was. I mean, we knew they were a dangerous team, but we trained really hard, and we had a great team spirit, you know, and the lads were like up for it, and you don't get it, it's not every day of the week you get a chance to play in a World Cup final and represent your country. So we were looking forward to it, and we did a really hard 2 weeks training in Brighton, and the temperatures was in the mid-80s while we were training there. And then this young kid came on the scene, and I'd seen him play a few months earlier in a youth game for Manchester United against Watford, and obviously I was at Watford at the time, and he was playing up front for Manchester United, and his name was Norman Whiteside, and he was some player, I'll tell you. And he played up front with Mark Hughes in the youth team, and that was the first I saw the two of them play in the final. And over the two legs, the final score was Watford 7, Manchester United 6 over 2 legs. It was unbelievable. So these are two players I thought they're going to do really well. And lo and behold, like 4 weeks later, Billy Bingham called Norman into the squad, and he stuck one past Pat Jennings from about 20-25 yards in training down in Brighton, and Pat said, "Who's this kid here?" You know, some left foot. So he became an important part of the team, and then Billy decided to change the team and play Norman on the left-hand side with Big Billy, and play me in the midfield on the right-hand side to give a wee bit of support in the middle of the park and to help Jimmy Nicholl out. So it all came and falling into place. The jigsaw came together, and the draw was, we were hoping for a draw. It was 0-0. They were a good team, Yugoslavia, but then towards the last half hour of the game, we got stronger than they were. They weren't as fit as us, they weren't as well organised, and we had a chance to win it. And if we'd have won it, it was going to be great, but we drew. So the next game, Martin O'Neill and the boys, we had all sat down, and Martin was the captain. He says, "Right, we can beat Honduras," he said, "and if we beat Honduras, we only need a draw against Spain to be definitely through." And I thought, well, that made sense. But we went in front against Honduras, set play, hit the crossbar, came back. I was in the right place at the right time to head the ball in the net. And then shortly after that, I had another chance from about 20 yards, and I hit the shot, and I thought it was in the back of the net. But I hit the post, came back to the goalkeeper, and then they equalised about 20 minutes later, making it 1-1, and it finished the draw, which meant we had to beat Spain. And that wasn't part of the plan. The plan was to only have to draw against Spain. They were host nation and the favourites at the time, so it was a crazy couple of days. But a lot of people don't know this. I put it in the book. You probably read this. It's in the book. He says, "Gary, well, listen, lads," he said, "you know what's going to happen?" He said, "The Spanish are going to come at us for the first 15-20 minutes. And he said, they'll throw everything they've got." And he said, "We do what we're good at, get behind the ball, keep it tight, force them across the park, not give them too many opportunities. And then we'll get 2 or 3 chances." And he said, "We'll score one of them and we'll beat them 1-0. That's Martin told us that the day before. So we had our plan set out. The referee was awful, I'll have to say. He was one of the worst referees. South American referee. The Spanish spoke, obviously Spanish in South America, and we hadn't a clue what was going on, but they were kicking lumps out of us, and we could look after ourselves. We had a couple of good lads who could look after themselves, but they started getting booked. You know, Billy Hamilton got booked, and Sammy McElroy got booked, and then one after the other. And then the second half, we were doing okay. We kept it 0-0. And the second half started, and you saw the goal. That was about a minute and a half into the second half. And a lot of people have said to me, could you not have scored in the 88th minute instead of... So, because we had like 40 odd minutes to go. And against all the odds, Mal Donaghy got sent off, and it was a bad decision. And it wasn't a sending off offence, but the referee wanted to do something, and we were 1-0 up, so he sent Mal off, and that just made us even more determined. We thought, you're not going to win here tonight, not against us, I don't care how many of you are. So we were like really resolute, and it was brilliant feeling, probably the biggest and greatest result for Northern Ireland in any tournament, and against all the opposition and the odds, we did well.
There's no doubt it was certainly one hell of a result. And after beating Spain, then obviously there was the great excitement with making the next round. But I believe the powers of B was maybe didn't expect that result.
It was the Irish FA, you have to understand, and we had to put up with an awful lot, and it was just the way it was. We're a small country. And Billy Drennan was our secretary at the time. So we went back to the hotel. I mean, they had to wait, the lads had to wait for me. I was pulled in for a dope test, and they were hoping I would fail the test. But it took me about an hour to pass in urine, and once that was done, I was on the coach and away. And Jimmy Hill, I'd done an interview with Jimmy before the game, and he said, it'll be lucky for you. He said, I interviewed Paul Mariner yesterday, and he scored the winner against Saudi Arabia for England. And I says, right, no problem. So when we got on the coach and went to the City Centre Hotel in Valencia, got off the coach, Jimmy Hill was standing there with a big tray of champagne glasses with champagne. He says, well done lads, this is on me. And he was a top man, Jimmy, and he gives us all a glass of champagne, and we went in and the party started. So we're partying away for a couple of hours, and you couldn't, the atmosphere was fantastic. It was just sheer joy, and everybody was smiling and happy. And then close to 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, I saw Billy Bingham, and his face wasn't good. He wasn't happy. And he said, Gerry, where's Sammy and the boys? And I said, they're all here. He says, get them together. Bring them over. He said, you won't believe what's happened. And I said, what's happened? He says, I've just been talking to Billy Drennan, and he's told me the bad news. I said, right, what bad news? And he went, he didn't think we'd qualify. He said, so our flight is going back to London tomorrow. He took us for us all. I went, are you kidding me? And he went, no. And he said, by the way, you know we're playing in the quarterfinals in Madrid? I said, yes. Haven't got a hotel. We have no hotel. He didn't book a hotel either. I went, shit. So those are the sort of things that was happening in the World Cup, which nobody at home knew anything about. But I mean, the lads were very happy. We had over 300 telegrams the next day in our hotel room, and they were from every denomination and every part of the world. They came in, and it was classic. We read some of the telegrams, and we just got on our way. And they sorted the tickets out, and then Derek McKinley, who was our kit man, he had to get the kit onto the bus, and the bus had to drive it to Madrid. So they had to drive to Madrid, and then the only hotel we could get was on the runway. Every single plane landed from 6 o'clock in the morning. We heard them coming on. And the lads never complained. We just get on with it and bring it on. Who's coming next? So it was good fun, and the spirit, the team spirit was unbelievable. That's one of the key things for our team and for our country. When you get on the pitch, there's only 11 of us and there's only 11 of them, but boy, we punch way above our weight. We've always done that. So that was the difference, and it took us nearly to the semi-final.
So listen, folks, there's many other stories, and please get the book. I'm not going to sit here and let Gerry tell you everything's in the book, because then that means there's no sales. So get out and get the book. So Gerry, after your playing career, you moved into management. One of the stories I heard before, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Northern Ireland played Spain in 2005, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And there was a reason why we went to Spain at Windsor Park in the very first game.
Yeah, I played in Spain for Mallorca for a couple of years, and I learned to speak Spanish, and I knew the system and knew how they operated. And when the draw was being made, I said to Laurie Sanchez, Laurie was the manager, I was assistant manager, and then we had Terry Gibson and Dave Bessett, who were the other assistant coaches. And I said, when the draw's made, see if you can get Spain first game. Because the first game was around the 3rd, 4th, 5th of September. And he went, right, why? And I said, because the Spanish don't go back training until the first week in August. I said, we train the middle of July, so we'd be 2 or 3 weeks ahead of them in fitness level. And he says, right, okay. So if you can get the first game then, Lo and behold, Laurie got the first game, Spain at home. We beat them 3-2. David Healy got a hat-trick. I tell you what was some game. If anybody was there, you know what I'm talking about. But to beat Spain in our own backyard and to do what we'd done before, it was brilliant to sort of watch it. And it could have finished 5-4, 5-3 for either side. They had chances, we had chances. But David was amazing and his finishing was superb. And that's why he's our top goal scorer of all time. But it was fantastic, I have to say.
I think there's a wee clip here coming up here now.
This is a set play. This is a
Yes.
free kick we've worked on, and David peels out to the right. Everybody's waiting the ball coming in. But once you see, and then there he is. He comes from behind, totally unmarked, and hits it first time. Now, we practiced that in training the day before, and we did it 4 times, and he never scored one. That's the way it works. But you know, when you're in the big stage and you've got the atmosphere and the pressure, that's when you come to life. And if you're a natural goal scorer, which he is, that's when he was just special. So it was some goal, but what a result. Now, see, that Spanish team, they never lost another game in the competition, and they went to the finals, and they won it. They became European champions. So the last defeat they had when they were European champions, Windsor Park against Northern Ireland. Seriously, you couldn't write it. It's the same as we played Germany about 3 or 4 months. We should have played Germany in the semi-final of the World Cup. But the goal that Martin O'Neill scored against France was disallowed, and it was 0-0 at the time. And when you watch the replay, you'll see he's a yard and a half onside. But they didn't have VAR then, and the goal was disallowed. And we had to win the game. France couldn't settle for a draw, so we had to take the game then, which was not our style, and we lost the match. But we could quite easily have been playing Germany, and everybody said, Germans would have beat you anyway. I said, would they? And he said, yeah. So the October after the World Cup, we played Germany at Windsor Park, and Ian Stewart scored the only goal, and we hammered the Germans. We played them off the park, beat them 1-0. So everybody said it was a fluke result. It's because we were so strong at Windsor Park, and we were 6 years, 1980 to 1986, undefeated. Nobody could beat us. England, the whole lot came, none of them could beat us. And the following year, I think it was 1983, April, we went to play, it was my 50th cap against Germany in Hamburg, and they were all saying we're struggling because we had 2 or 3 players missing. And there was a guy called Gerry Armstrong. He only played about 4 or 5 times. So Gerry was a rough boy, I'll tell you what. And I said to him, see him there, when kick off, his name's Karl-Heinz Rummenigge. I said, he's a fly machine goal scorer. I said, nail him first minute, get him out of the game. Don't worry, big man. And the ball comes in, and it's Rummenigge took it on his chest like that to control it. Gerry came round the side of him here, size 12 shoe, caught him right down the side of the face with the studs. Oh my God. And Rummenigge played on the wing for the rest of the game. And about 20 minutes in the second half, we're on top and doing really well after being under the cosh. And Norman Whiteside scored, and we won 1-0. So we beat Germany 1-0 home and away. And no other team has ever beaten Germany in any competition, home and away, except Northern Ireland. We're the only team in the world.
England came to town then. England were obviously fancying themselves for a wee bit.
They did. We should have beat England when I was playing. We should have beat them 2 or 3 times. But you know, sometimes you need a wee bit of good fortune and good luck, and we never got it. And we had an incident where, you know, we're 3-4 days before the game. The staff are all arranged in the dining room, and I was sitting with Laurie and Terry Gibson and the boys, and I said, listen, what are we going to do here? What's the story? And he said, why don't we do what they do at Wimbledon? And I said, what do you mean? He says, let's just press them. Just close and work the first touch. I said, you won't have any problems. He said, and it's the only way you can play against them anyway. You've got to press them and not allow. The England team was David Beckham, Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, Wayne Rooney, Michael Owen. I mean, you want to hear that the team was unbelievable. And I said, on paper, we can't beat them. I said, they're much better than we are. I said, so we have to press them and not allow them to settle on the ball. So that's what we did. And the first minute of the game was, we'd practiced for 3-4 days, and it was all about pressing and working as a unit, closing people down. And that's what we did. So anyway, Keith Gillespie started it off from the first second of the game, kick it off. He was running to press people down. And it continued for a few minutes, and Wayne Rooney was the first one to react. Surprise, surprise. So Keith had gone to close him down and sort of snapping at his heels. And as Keith put him under pressure, Rooney threw his arm and his elbow back and caught Keith in the face. And the referee booked Wayne Rooney, and he started effing and blinding. So David Beckham was the captain. He came run over. He says, come on, calm down. And I said, listen, have a look at direction. And I said, that was brilliant for us, because we could see they were rattled. And I said, keep it going, keep please. So the players knew after 15-20 minutes that if we kept pressing them, making them make mistakes, we had a chance. And the manager at the time was Sven-Göran Eriksson, and he was a mate of mine. I knew Sven. I used to go to coaching sessions with him, and he used to ask me advice on European players, because I was an expert on all the foreign teams. And he said to me at half-time, we're walking off, it was 0-0. He says, hey, Gerry, your boys, they played really good first half. And I said, you really see what you're going to get the second half? So lo and behold, we started exactly the same, but we didn't have to go and preach to the players at half-time, because they knew they were doing well and they were on top, and England were rattled. So come out and we started exactly the same. We just kept pressing. And it was fantastic, because you knew there was going to be chances coming our way. And lo and behold, the first chance came. Steve Davis, who was a fantastic midfield player, Northern Ireland, you know all about Steve. He digged a wee ball inside right, and David Healy's broke the offside trap. He's coming through. The ball set up, and he hit it. You can still see it flying in the back of the net. And that was us 1-0. Now my wee wife's sitting over in the corner there, and she had told me the night before, you won't believe, I had a dream last night. I says, what was it? She went, we beat England 1-0, David Healy scored the goal. I said, that's about 200 to 1, love, that would not be funny. I wish I had a bet on it.
And by the way, here's the goal.
Here's the goal. There's Steve on the ball now. David Healy making his run, he's bending his run over the top. Angle's tight, but that's a fantastic that was, it only took us 73 years to beat England at Windsor Park. The last time we beat them. And that was masterminded again by the management team and the players. And if you've got the support of the players and you get the right tactics, you can beat anybody. It doesn't matter who they are, whether it's England or Germany or Spain, we can beat anybody on our day. We're as good as anybody else.
Brilliant. Well, fortunately, folks, so we're not finished, but I can listen to this for hours. So, a couple of things. Who's the best player you ever played against?
Against Diego Maradona. When I played for Real Mallorca, the second game I played at home for Real Mallorca was against Barcelona, and he was the star man, along with Bernd Schuster, Carrasco, Alessandro, who played in the Spanish national team. I mean, they had some unbelievable players. Miguel Tarzan, the nickname was, he was a big, strong lad. So we played against them, and the first 10-15 minutes, they were all over us. And Maradona, I've never seen anything like it. We couldn't get near him. He was just beating 1, 2, 3 players. Acceleration, his skill, and he never had a right foot. He was all left foot. Everything was left foot. And he was just unstoppable. But I managed to score after about 20 minutes, crossed him over the far post. I get a diving header, put his 1-0 up. And then Maradona took over, and it was a masterclass. I've never seen a performance like it. Well, I'd seen somebody else do it when I was playing for Northern Ireland, George Best, and he was a special player. But Maradona was sensational, and they beat us 4-1, unfortunately.
You mentioned the man himself. Would he be the best you ever played with?
Yep, I made my debut with him against Germany, West Germany, back in 76-77 in Cologne. And when Danny Blanchflower told me the night before, he says, you're playing up front tomorrow for your debut against the world champions, the word at the time, West Germany. He said, it'll be you and George best up front. And I thought, boyhood hero from your growing up, and you're going to be playing up front representing your country. It doesn't get any better than that. And it was great. And George could do things that nobody else could do. And in training, it was fun. Brian Hamilton, my good friend, who we went on to be management team as well. We had no goals in a training session down on the pitch, and they were saying, come on, we'll get a wee game. Can I get a game, Danny? And he went, there's no goal post up. And he said, well, sure, we'll put a couple of jackets down and make goals. And he said, no, he says, we'll play you inside the penalty area. He said, and you'll have 66, 77. And he said, and every time you get a nutmegs on a player, it's a goal. So I said, fine, I thank God I was in George's team. So anyway, George would get the ball, and everybody knew what George could do, because he would run up to you and he would tease you with the ball. He was so quick with his feet, and he went like this to George, to Brian Hamlin. Brian went like that, and then George flicked the ball off his shins, played a 1-2, and as Brian moved his legs like that to go, he flicked it with his off, through his legs, and as Brian turned, he flicked it again through his legs. 2-0, he says 2-0, and the boys were laughing, and Brian went, this is a stupid game, I don't want to play this game. But that was typical of George. He could do stuff that nobody else. I was sort of amazed. I went, holy God, how can this guy be that good? But he was like I'm trying to explain, he's like a ballerina. He had quick feet, he could score goals with his right and his left foot. He loved training, he wasn't a big frame, but he had a brilliant attitude, his determination. He was good in the air. He scored for Manchester United 4 or 5 years in a row. He scored over 20 goals every season, and he was a winger. You know, he was a winger, and I was fortunate enough to play a couple of tournaments in Singapore with Sir Bobby Charlton, and Pat Jennings was with me, and we had several other World Cup stars there. And I said to Bobby, what was it like playing with George? And he said, Gerry, he said, it was unbelievable. He said, you'd get the ball and you'd give it to George, and then I would make a run to get into good position. I'd say, George, give me it. And George would go, and then he'd go past 1. And I'd say, George, I'm free, give me it. And then he'd go past 2, then he'd go past 3, then he'd go past 4, and he'd stick it in the back of the net, and you go, well done, George. And he was like that. And do you know who said the same to me about a year later? Dennis Law. He said exactly the same. He said, George was just a one-off. You could not write the script of him. He could do everything. And he was great fun to be with as well.
Obviously everybody knows, everybody hears all the downsides about George, but like yourself, you know, there's so many plus points.
Seen all the sides of George, every side, but the pressure, and no other footballer had been under the pressure that George was under, and that was the difference. And I don't think the world ever saw the best of George. You know, he left to go to America to get away from the pressure and the hassle. The fifth people, they called him. You know, if you knew him as I knew him, and you went out with him and had fun with him, he was really quiet and shy. Believe it or not, such a quiet, shy lad, and great company to be with as well.
Brilliant. Folks, this is unfortunately time. All I can say is, Gerry, it's been an absolute pleasure. Gerry is an ambassador for the Northern Ireland Children's Hospice, and we have spoke very, very loosely, but we would love to try and do something with some of the ex-players in this kind of facility again, and whatever the proceeds will split between Gerry's unit, or Gerry's charity, and the Children's Cancer Unit. Something which hopefully we look forward to maybe sometime whenever we can actually get everybody here together. Gerry has donated a shirt, which, Gerry, you explain it?
It's a One Night in Valencia shirt, limited edition. I bought them about 15 years ago, and I've got 7 left. And they're nearly all gone. We did one for SOS, was it, Debbie? Not last year, the year before. And I donated the shirt to SOS, and these 2 guys were at it, they wanted it, and it was 500, 600, 700, just kept going up and up. And eventually they got to 1,000, and I said, hold on, I said, it's desperately one. I said, so look, what I'll do is I'll sign one for each of you, and if you give £1,000 each, no problem. So that's how big they were. There are not too many of them around, they're limited edition, so I'm going to sign one tonight, for this is a very
brilliant. Thank you very much. Gerry also met Carl Frampton the other day, the world champion boxer, and has brought along a signed glove from Carl for the donation here tonight. So, Gerry, this has been a pleasure. I've been looking forward to this part.
Carl made a point to tell me, he said, these aren't training gloves. He said, these are gloves that I've worn, that I've used fine. So he's actually worn them, because a lot of the boxers just get gloves and they just sign them. Carl has told me, I met him for coffee a couple of days ago, and I was on the phone the week before, and he says, I'm going to give you a proper set. So one has gone to another charity that Debbie's doing for, what was her name? It's dementia, for a dementia charity. And that one's an auction tonight. But I have the other glove, one from here, and obviously we'll pick it up tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, for me, this has been an absolute pleasure, but I hope you've all enjoyed this. Our hero, Gerry Armstrong.